The colony world called Sanctuary Prime was a beautiful place. Green fields stretched for miles under two golden suns. Human families had lived there for 15 years, building homes and schools and farms. Children played in the streets while their parents worked. Nobody expected what came next. Captain Daewon Kim stood on the bridge of his exploration ship when the emergency signal came through. His hands gripped the command chair as he watched the data streaming across his screens. Sanctuary Prime was under attack. The signature matched Vektari warships, the same reptilian species that had been pushing at human borders for months. How many ships? Daewon asked his navigator. 12 heavy cruisers, sir. They're bombing population centers. Daewon's jaw tightened. His ship was 3 days away at maximum speed. Too far, too late. He could only watch as the reports came in. 40,000 dead. Schools destroyed. Hospitals burning. The Vektari weren't taking the planet. They were making a statement. On Earth, Ambassador Jiwoo Park received the news in her office. She had spent 5 years representing humanity at the Galactic Council, fighting for respect among species that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. Now she had to report a massacre. She gathered her documents and headed to the council chambers. The council met in a massive station called Concordia. Representatives from 30 different species sat in circular tiers. At the top sat the 3 ancient powers. The Vektari War Master Krell lounged in his seat, his scales gleaming under the lights. The Throne Collective sent their psychic representative, a being of pure mental energy. The Ulmarine ambassador clicked and whirred, more machine than living thing. Jiwoo stood at the central podium. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook with barely contained rage. Honored council members. Yesterday, Vektari forces attacked Sanctuary Prime without warning or provocation. 40,000 human civilians are dead. We demand justice and accountability. Krell rose from his seat. His voice rumbled like thunder. The humans speak of justice? We were testing their defenses. They failed. Perhaps they should seek our protection if they cannot defend themselves. Laughter rippled through some of the council seats. Jiwoo felt her face burn but kept her composure. This was not a military target. You bombed schools. You killed children. The Throne Collective's representative spoke directly into everyone's minds. The strong survive. The weak seek protection or perish. This is the way of the galaxy. The Ulmarine ambassador added, your species is young. Perhaps too young for the realities of interstellar politics. The Vektari acted within their rights as a superior military power. Jiwoo looked around the chamber. A few smaller species looked sympathetic but said nothing. The major powers controlled everything. She had seen this pattern before. Might made right in the Galactic Council. Then humanity will remember this, Jiwoo said quietly. We came seeking justice. We found none. We will not forget. She walked out of the chamber. Behind her, Krell issued a formal ultimatum. Humanity had 30 days to accept Vektari protection or face total war. The council did nothing to stop him, back on Earth. Commander Taeyang Choi watched the council broadcast with other military leaders. They sat in a secure bunker deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. When Jiwoo's speech ended, he turned to his fellow officers. They think we're weak, he said. They think because we arrived late to the stars, we're primitives who will bow to threats. Admiral Yunkang, the oldest officer present, nodded slowly. They don't know our history. They don't know what humans do when pushed to the edge. Dr. Hana Lee, head of the Weapons Research Division, pulled up a holographic display. We've been working on something. The Ghost Drive. It lets our ships travel without being detected. We kept it secret, waiting for the right moment. How many ships can you equip? Taeyang asked. 300 within 6 months. Maybe more if we rush production. The room fell silent. 300 ships seemed like nothing against the vast Vektari armada. But Taeyang was smiling. They expect us to panic. To accept their protection or scatter? Instead, we go silent. Pull back all our ambassadors. Lock down our borders. Let them wonder what we're doing. Admiral Yoon stood. I'll need complete authority over fleet operations. No politicians interfering. No mercy shown. The Prime Minister, who had been listening via secure channel, spoke through the speakers. You have whatever you need. Make them regret ever hearing the name humanity. On the horizon's edge, Captain Day 1 finally reached the ruins of Sanctuary Prime. The colony was still burning. His crew worked in shifts, recovering bodies and survivors. There weren't many survivors. Day 1 walked through what used to be a school. Small desks lay crushed under rubble. Children's drawings still hung on walls. His communication officer found him there. Sir, we're being recalled. All human ships are returning to Sol System. What about the colony? The people who are left? Automated defense stations are being deployed. We have new orders, sir. They're marked eyes only for you. Day 1 read the orders in his quarters. Operation Reminder. He was being reassigned to special operations. Black Ops missions against Vectari targets. No survivors. No evidence. He thought about the children's drawings and accepted the assignment. Across human space, the same scene repeated. Colonies were quietly fortified. Civilians were evacuated to core worlds. Ships disappeared from patrol routes. The Vectari sent scouts to investigate but found only automated defenses and empty space. They reported that humans seemed to be retreating in fear. Krell was pleased. He had expected the humans to fight back stupidly or beg for mercy. Instead, they were hiding. It proved his point about their weakness. He sent more ships to patrol human borders, waiting for the 30 days to expire. What Krell didn't know was that every Vectari movement was being tracked. Every ship position was being logged. Every patrol route was being mapped. In secret shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, human workers assembled warships at a pace the galaxy had never seen. Earth's entire economy shifted to war production. Dr. Hana Lee stood in one such shipyard, watching construction. A young engineer approached her. Doctor, some of the council species have survived for thousands of years. How can we compete with that kind of experience? Hannah smiled grimly. They've been at peace for centuries. They've forgotten what real war looks like, humans. We nearly destroyed ourselves a dozen times before we reached the stars. We remember. We survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and nuclear near misses. We know how to fight, but we're outnumbered. Numbers matter less when your enemy doesn't see you coming. The Vectari think technology and size win wars. They're wrong. Humans win wars through adaptation, determination, and knowing when to stop playing nice. The 30 days passed. Krell prepared to deliver his final ultimatum. He stood before the council again, ready to announce humanity's destruction. Then every human ship vanished from sensors. Communications went dark. The borders went silent. The galaxy waited. In that silence, something terrible was being born. Humanity was done asking for justice. They would take it themselves. 6 months passed since humanity went silent. The Galactic Council grew nervous. The Vectari lost 3 patrol fleets near human space. Each time, ships simply vanished without distress signals. Krell blamed navigation errors and equipment failure. He refused to believe humans could be responsible. Captain Day 1 Kim crouched in the darkness of a Vectari supply depot. His team of 12 moved like shadows through the corridors. They wore black armor that bent light around them, making them nearly invisible. Each soldier carried weapons designed specifically to fight Vectari biology. Team 2, status, Day 1 whispered into his com. Charges placed on fuel reserves. Ready on your mark? Team 3? Communication array is rigged. They won't send any messages. Day 1 watched through his helmet display as Vectari guards passed his position. They looked bored. They had no idea humans were even present. That would change soon. All teams execute. The depot erupted in flames. Fuel stores exploded, sending shockwaves through the structure. Vectari soldiers scrambled for weapons but found only death. Day 1's team moved through them efficiently. No hesitation. No mercy. When it was over, 200 Vectari lay dead. The humans planted evidence suggesting internal sabotage and vanished. This was the 17th such mission. Day 1 had stopped counting the Badas. Back on Earth, engineer Biora Shin worked in a secret facility beneath the Gobi Desert. She stood before a massive engine that hummed with energy that shouldn't exist according to known physics. The Ghost Drive was her creation, born from 5 years of research that began long before Sanctuary Prime. "Run the test again," she ordered her team, a small ship powered up in the testing chamber. One moment it was visible on every sensor. The next moment it simply wasn't there. Not cloaked, not hidden. Gone from reality itself, traveling through folded space that conventional sensors couldn't detect. "Perfect," Burra said. "How many drives are operational?" 400 and counting. "Production is accelerating." A military officer approached her workstation. "Mem, Admiral Yoon is requesting a status update." The Ora pulled up her production timeline. "Tell the Admiral we'll have 600 ships equipped within 2 months. After that, we can outfit 50 ships per week." He also wants to know about the other project. The hammer. Biura's smile vanished. The hammer was something else entirely. A weapon so devastating she had argued against building it. But the Council had made their choice when they laughed at human suffering. The hammer will be ready when needed. I hope we never need it. In another part of the world, specialist Im Soo-han taught a classroom full of officers about their enemies. Holographic displays showed Vectari battle formations and tactics. Insu had spent years studying every council species, learning their strengths and weaknesses. "The Vectari rely on overwhelming force," he explained. "They've won every war through superior numbers and firepower. But look at their formations. They're predictable. They haven't adapted their tactics in 300 years. A young captain raised her hand. "What about their battle experience?" "They fought dozens of wars. Against species who fought by galactic rules. Formal declarations. Predictable battles. Honorable conduct." Insu's expression hardened. "We won't fight that way. We studied human history. We know what total war looks like. The Vectari don't." He pulled up data from Earth's past. Images of strategic bombing, guerrilla warfare, psychological operations. Wars where survival trumped honor. Humans spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other. We're very good at it. The Vectari are about to learn what happens when you wake a sleeping predator. Admiral Yun Kang stood in Earth's largest military command center. Holographic displays showed the entire galaxy. Red markers indicated Vectari positions. Blue markers showed hidden human fleet concentrations. Green markers showed targets. His staff worked around him, coordinating the largest military operation humanity had ever attempted. Operation Reminder was simple in concept but devastating in execution. Hit the Vectari everywhere at once. Show them what real war looked like. "Admiral, the Council is sending inquiry ships to our borders," a communications officer reported. "They want to know what we're doing." "Tell them nothing. Continue the blackout." "Sir, some council members are getting suspicious. The Throne Collective tried to send psychic probes into our space." Yoon smiled slightly. "Let them try. Our pilots have been training in mental resistance for months. Thanks to volunteers who learn meditation and focus techniques. The Throne won't find anything. What about the Ulmarine?" "Their intelligence network is extensive. The Ulmarine rely on technology we understand. We've been feeding them false data for weeks. They think our fleets are scattered and weak." A tactical officer approached with a datapad. "Admiral, we've identified the location of Fortress Kala. It's their primary military station in this sector." Yoon studied the fortress specifications. Massive shields. Thousands of weapons platforms. 20,000 Vectari soldiers. It was considered impregnable. "Perfect. That's our primary target." The officer looked shocked. "Sir, attacking Fortress Kala would require our entire fleet. Even then, casualties would be catastrophic." "Not if they never see us coming. Not if we hit them with everything at once." Yoon zoomed in on the fortress. "I want 300 ships positioned around Kala, all equipped with ghost drives. They decloak simultaneously and open fire. The fortress falls before they can respond. Around the command center, officers began calculating trajectories and timing. The plan was audacious, risky, exactly what the Vectari wouldn't expect. In the outer colonies, automated defense systems were being upgraded. Young diplomat Young Mian visited one such colony, inspecting the preparations. She had been reassigned from diplomatic duties to coordination between civilian and military operations. A colonist approached her nervously. "Ma'am, we're scared. We heard what happened at Sanctuary Prime. What if they come here?" Young Mi looked at the orbital defense platforms being installed. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a cruiser. They won't. And if they try, they'll find we're not as helpless as they think. But we're just farmers and engineers. We're not soldiers. Neither were the people at Sanctuary Prime. That's why we're making sure you never have to fight. Our fleets will make sure of it. She didn't mention the other truth, that every colony now had evacuation plans, that ships were hidden nearby, ready to extract civilians if needed, that humanity had learned from Sanctuary Prime and would never let it happen again. Meanwhile, Captain Day 1 finished another mission. This time his team had destroyed a Vectari weapons factory. The explosions could be seen from orbit. He sat in his ship's mess hall, eating rations and reviewing mission footage. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Kyung-min Park, sat across from him. "Do you ever feel bad about it?" Kyung-min asked. "The Vectari we kill aren't all soldiers. Some are just workers." Day 1 set down his food. "I think about the children at Sanctuary Prime, the ones who died in their schools. Then I stop feeling bad. When does this end? When they learn. When they understand that humanity isn't prey. When they realize that attacking us costs more than they're willing to pay." Kyung-min nodded slowly. "The other teams are reporting similar success rates. The Vectari still don't know we're hunting them. Good, let them stay ignorant a little longer. When the Admiral gives the signal, they'll understand everything at once." Back on Earth, Dr. Hannah Lee received approval for the final phase of weapons development. She stood in a testing range in the Australian outback, watching as her latest creation was prepared. The Hammer. A missile that could crack a planet's crust. "Doctor, are you sure about this?" her assistant asked. "Using this weapon would violate every galactic treaty. The galaxy violated every treaty when they let Sanctuary Prime burn, when they laughed at our ambassador. This isn't about treaties anymore. It's about making sure nobody ever attacks us again. But the devastation will never be used if we do this right. The hammer is insurance, deterrence. The Vectari need to know we can destroy them utterly if necessary. Then maybe they'll choose peace." The test missile launched into space. It hit a dead moon in the outer solar system. The explosion was visible from Earth. When the sensors finished analyzing, the moon had a new crater 10 miles deep. Hannah transmitted the test results to Admiral Yoon with a simple message. "Hammer ready? Pray we never need it." Across human space, final preparations continued. 6 months of silence. 6 months of building, training, planning. The Vectari thought humans had retreated. The Council thought humans were too weak to matter. They were all about to learn the same lesson. Admiral Yoon stood before a holographic display showing his entire fleet. 300 ships ready. 600 more in reserve. Thousands of highly trained soldiers. Weapons the galaxy had never seen. He opened a channel to all ship commanders. "This is Admiral Yoon. Operation Reminder begins in 72 hours. We will show the galaxy what humanity is capable of. We will show them that attacking us was their greatest mistake. For Sanctuary Prime." Across the fleet, the response echoed back, "For Sanctuary Prime." The storm was ready to break. Fortress Kala floated in the darkness of space like a metal mountain. War Master Krell stood in its command center, reviewing reports. 6 months of human silence had made him confident. The primitive species had clearly retreated to their home systems, too afraid to respond. Status of the border patrols? Krell asked his second-in-command. 14 more ships reported missing this week, War Master. Navigation failures, we believe. Krell waved a clawed hand dismissively. Equipment problems. The ships are old. We need better maintenance crews. He didn't notice his sensor officer's concerned expression. The officer had been tracking the disappearances and found patterns. But nobody questioned Krell. That was the Vectari way at that moment. 300 human warships sat in folded space around Fortress Kala. They had been moving into position for 3 days, completely undetected. Captain Day 1 stood on the bridge of the assault carrier, Storm's Fury. His combat team was suited up and ready. Admiral Yoon's voice came through on every ship's communication system. All vessels, this is Yoon. In 60 seconds, we decloak and open fire. Target the shield generators first, then weapons platforms. Save the command center for last. I want Krell alive. Day 1 checked his weapon one final time. His team would board the fortress once the defenses fell. It was personal for him. Sanctuary Prime had been his daughter's home. She had been 8 years old. 30 seconds, Yoon counted down. Remember, they chose this. They attacked us. They laughed at our dead. Show them what that choice costs? The human fleet materialized from nothing. One moment, empty space. The next, 300 warships surrounded Fortress Kala in a perfect sphere. The Vectari sensors went crazy. Alarms screamed throughout the fortress. Krell stared at his displays in disbelief. Impossible. Where did they come from? His sensor officer shouted, "They're powering weapons." All of them. Raise shields. Deploy all fighters. Send distress. The human fleet opened fire. It wasn't like battles the Vectari knew. There were no formal challenges, no positioning maneuvers, just overwhelming, coordinated firepower from every direction at once. Fortress Kala's shields lit up like a star as they absorbed thousands of hits per second. Wing Commander Sujin Beek led her fighter squadron through the chaos. Human fighters were smaller and faster than Vectari ships. They darted between the capital ships, targeting specific weak points that Specialist Insuhan had identified months ago. Gold Squadron hit the northern shield generator. Diamond Squadron take the southern array. Vectari fighters launched to intercept, but they were too slow. Human pilots had trained in virtual reality simulations for 6 months, fighting this exact battle hundreds of times. They knew every move before the Vectari made them. Sujin's fighter screamed past a Vectari weapons platform, firing precisely targeted missiles. The platform exploded. Around the fortress, similar explosions blossomed as the defenses crumbled on the storm's fury. Admiral Yoon watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Shields at 40%. Keep firing. Admiral, Vectari reinforcements are jumping in. 20 cruisers? Redirect Fleet Group Baker to intercept. Don't let them reach the fortress. The battle expanded as more Vectari ships arrived, but they came in small groups, confused and uncoordinated. Each group was met by overwhelming human firepower. The Vectari had never fought an enemy that appeared from nowhere and struck with such precision. Captain Day 1 felt his ship shake as it unleashed another barrage. Shield status? Fortress shields down to 15%. They're collapsing. Prepare boarding teams? All Marines to the assault pods. Around him, soldiers moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this moment. Each team knew their objectives. Capture the command center. Secure the fortress. Take Krell alive. The fortress shields failed. Human weapons tore into the station's hull. Explosions rippled across its surface. Then the human ships ceased firing. Dozens of assault pods launched, racing toward the wounded fortress. Day 1's pod hit the hull with a metallic clang. Cutting torches burned through in seconds. His team poured into the corridor, weapons ready. Vectari soldiers met them immediately. The fighting was brutal and close. Vectari were larger and stronger, but human soldiers were faster and better trained. They moved as units, covering each other, advancing methodically. Day 1's team pushed toward the command center, leaving Badas behind. Contact front. Someone shouted. A Vectari war party charged down the corridor. 20 soldiers in heavy armor. Day One's team took cover and returned fire. Human bullets were designed to penetrate Vectari scales. The charge broke apart in seconds. Keep moving. Command center is 3 levels up. They fought their way through the fortress. Other teams secured critical areas. The Vectari defenders were brave but unprepared. They had never faced humans in ground combat. They didn't know how to counter human tactics. Lieutenant Kim Min led a separate team through the engineering section. His objective was the fortress's main reactor. If the Vectari tried to self-destruct, his team would stop them. Engineering secured, he reported. Reactor under our control? Good work, Day One replied. We're at the command center doors. The doors were massive, designed to withstand heavy weapons. Day One's demolition expert placed shaped charges. The explosion blew the doors inward. Day One's team rushed through the smoke. Krell stood in the center of the command room, surrounded by his personal guard. 30 of the best Vectari warriors. They raised their weapons. I am War Master Krell, he roared. I will not surrender to primitives. Day One raised his hand. His team held fire. He stepped forward, removing his helmet so Krell could see his face. I am Captain Day One Kim. You killed my daughter on Sanctuary Prime. She was 8 years old. Krell's eyes widened slightly. For the first time, he seemed to understand. Now you will face justice, Day One said quietly. Your choice is simple. Surrender and live. Resist and die. Choose. The Vectari guards looked at their war master. They were outnumbered now. More human soldiers poured into the command center. Krell looked around at his crumbling fortress, at the determined faces of the humans, at the displays showing his fleets being destroyed. He had miscalculated. Badly, slowly, Krell lowered his weapon. His guards followed. I surrender? Day One nodded to his team. They moved forward and secured the prisoners. The Battle of Fortress Kala was over. It had lasted 4 hours, while humans secured the fortress. Ambassador Jiwoo Park arrived at the Galactic Council chambers on Concordia Station. She came with an escort of 12 human dreadnoughts. They took position around the station, their weapons powered but not aimed. The council had been in emergency session since the attack began. Species representatives shouted at each other, trying to understand what was happening. When Jiwoo entered, the chamber fell silent. She walked to the central podium with measured steps. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were cold. Behind her on a display screen, footage played from Fortress Kala. The council members watched in shock. Honored Council, Wu began. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber. 6 months ago, I stood here and begged for justice. You laughed. You told us to accept protection or perish. Today, I return with a different message. The screen changed to show War Master Krell in chains, being led through his own fortress by human soldiers. This is War Master Krell. He ordered the attack on Sanctuary Prime. He killed 40,000 of my people. He threatened to destroy us if we did not submit. Today we took him prisoner. His fortress has fallen. His fleets are scattered. And this is just the beginning. The Throne Collective's representative tried to speak into her mind. Jiwoo felt the psychic pressure and smiled. Don't bother. We trained for your mental tricks. She walked slowly around the podium, making eye contact with different council members. For 6 months you wondered where we went, what we were doing. Were we hiding? Were we afraid? No, we were preparing. We were building. We were remembering what we are. The Ulmarine ambassador clicked urgently. This is unprecedented. Attacking a council member without declaration, like Krell attacked Sanctuary Prime? Jiwoo cut him off. Where was the council then? Where was your justice? You told us might makes right. So we showed you our might. She returned to the podium. The footage changed again, showing human fleets across Vectari space. Every major military installation was under attack. The Vectari Empire was collapsing in hours. We came to the stars seeking friendship. We found exploitation. We offered peace. You offered contempt, so now we offer you a choice. Jiwoo placed a data chip on the podium. This contains new terms for the Galactic Council. Terms that protect smaller species from predation. Terms that ensure justice applies equally to everyone. Terms that make attacking civilians a crime, not a strategy. She looked directly at the Throne Collective. Accept these terms or discover what happens when you provoke humanity further. We can be your partners or your nightmare. Choose wisely. The chamber erupted in argument. Some species shouted support. Others demanded human punishment. The three ancient powers sat in stunned silence. They had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Now, a species barely 30 years in space was dictating terms. Jiwoo walked out. Her escort followed. As she left, she transmitted one final message that broadcast across the entire galaxy. We are humanity. We came seeking peace. You taught us that peace requires strength. We learned that lesson well. Remember this day. Remember what happens when you mistake our patience for weakness. Behind her, the council dissolved into chaos. The old order was breaking. A new one was being born. 3 months after Fortress Kala fell, the galaxy was still adjusting to the new reality. The Vectari Empire had surrendered unconditionally within a week of the attack. Their military was shattered. Their leadership was in custody. But humanity's work was far from finished. Ambassador Jiwoo Park sat in a negotiation room on Concordia Station. Across from her sat representatives from 7 minor species who had been oppressed by the major powers. A delegation from the insectoid Chitri hive clicked nervously. Ambassador Park, we appreciate humanity's offer of protection, but we must ask, what do you want in return? Jiwoo understood their suspicion. In galactic politics, protection always came with strings attached, servitude, resources, territory, but humans played by different rules. Nothing, she said simply. Well, nothing except your friendship and willingness to trade fairly. We don't want subjects. We want partners. A Chitria representative tilted her head in confusion. But your military strength could easily overwhelm us. Why not simply take what you want? Because that's what the Vectari did. And look where it got them. Jiwoo pulled up a hologram showing the new treaty framework. These are the Sanctuary Accords, named for the colony where this all began. They guarantee protection for developing worlds. Fair trade agreements? Mutual defense. No species can be exploited or attacked without the entire alliance responding. A representative from the Melari, a peaceful species of aquatic beings, spoke through their translator. The Throne Collective has ruled our sector for 2,000 years. They will not accept this change. The Throne Collective will accept it or face the consequences. Wu's expression hardened. We're not asking permission anymore. While Jiwoo negotiated new alliances, Dr. Hannah Lee was demonstrating human technology to the Ulmarine. The machine species had challenged humanity to a technology exhibition, confident in their superiority. They had been the galactic standard for advanced technology for 3 millennia, the Ulmarine High Coordinator. A being of chrome and circuitry examined the human quantum tunneling communicator with what might have been surprise. This is impressive, the coordinator admitted. Instantaneous communication across any distance. We theorized this was possible but never achieved it. That's because you stopped innovating, Hannah replied. She pulled up another display. This is our gravity manipulation engine. It doesn't just create artificial gravity. It can shape and direct gravitational fields as weapons or shields. The Ulmarine scientists present exchange signals in their electronic language. Hannah could tell they were disturbed. Humanity had leapfrogged their technology in key areas. How? The coordinator asked. Your species has been in space for barely a century. We have had millions of years to develop. That's exactly the problem. You had so much time you stopped pushing boundaries. You became comfortable, humans? We spent our entire history fighting to survive. We learned to innovate or die? That desperation drove us to keep improving. Hannah demonstrated artificial intelligence that could coordinate entire fleets in real time. Advanced medical nanobots that could repair tissue at the cellular level. Energy shields that adapted to different weapons. Each demonstration showed human technology matched or exceeded the galactic standard. "We also learned from you," Hannah admitted. "We've been quietly studying council technology for decades, reverse engineering it, improving on it. You thought we were primitive, so you never noticed we were learning. The coordinator's optical sensors dimmed? We underestimated you, catastrophically. Everyone did. That was our advantage." In another part of Concordia, the Throne Collective made their move. They had ruled through mental domination for eons. Physical warfare was beneath them. Instead, they attacked minds directly. 5 Throne agents focused their psychic powers on Earth's leadership. They would break the human commanders' minds, reducing them to puppets. It was a strategy that had worked against dozens of species. Admiral Yun Kong felt the psychic assault begin. It was like pressure inside his skull, trying to push into his thoughts. But Yun and his staff had spent 6 months training with meditation masters and mental discipline techniques. They knew this attack was coming. "Defensive formations," Yun said calmly. His staff closed their eyes and focused on the mental exercises they had practiced countless times. The Throne agents pushed harder. They had never encountered resistance like this. Human minds were chaotic and unpredictable, not organized like other species. The agents tried to find patterns to exploit, but found only determination and stubborn will. One agent pushed too hard into Commander Taeyang Choi's mind. Taeyang had lost family on Sanctuary Prime. His rage and grief were weapons the agent wasn't prepared for. The psychic feedback stunned the agent, breaking the connection. The other agents retreated, confused and shaken. They reported to the Throne Collective's central consciousness that humans were resistant to mental manipulation. The Collective realized with growing alarm that one of their primary advantages was useless against humanity. Diplomat Young Mian received the news about the failed psychic attack and smiled. She was coordinating with representatives from 24 species who had suffered under Throne Collective mind control. "They tried to enslave humanity's leadership," she announced to the assembly. "They failed. Now you know that their power isn't absolute. Resistance is possible." A Valorian delegate, whose species had been mentally dominated for centuries, asked carefully, "Will humanity teach us your techniques?" "Of course. We're already preparing training programs, mental discipline, focus exercises, ways to recognize and resist psychic intrusion. The Throne Collective's reign of terror ends now." News of the failed attack spread quickly. Minor species began openly defying the throne. For the first time in millennia, the Psychic Collective felt genuine fear. They requested a meeting with Ambassador G-Wu. The throne representative appeared as a glowing energy form in the negotiation chamber. Its mental voice was carefully controlled, projecting calm it didn't feel. "Humanity has proven formidable. Perhaps we judged too quickly." Wu sat relaxed in her chair. "You judged exactly as you always have. With arrogance, you assumed we were weak like the others. We wish to propose a peace agreement. The throne will not interfere in human affairs. In return, humanity will not attack our space." "That's not how this works anymore." Wu leaned forward. "You will sign the Sanctuary Accords. You will release every species you've mentally enslaved. You will submit to independent verification of compliance. Or we demonstrate that mental powers don't stop missiles." The throne representative flickered with what might have been anger. "You would threaten us?" "I'm stating facts. You attacked our leadership. That's an act of war. We're offering peace with conditions. Accept them or face what the Vectari faced." The throne representative vanished without answering. But Ji-Woo wasn't worried. The collective would see reason once they understood humanity wouldn't back down. General Hyun-Woo. Nam was busy establishing the Sanctuary Defense Force. It would be a multi-species military organization designed to protect smaller civilizations from exploitation. He stood in a training facility on Mars, watching recruits from 15 different species learn human military doctrine. A young Kshatriya officer approached him. "General, why do humans emphasize adaptability so much? The Vectari taught overwhelming force." The throne taught manipulation. Your training is different. Han Wu gestured to the training floor where a mixed squad was running tactical exercises. Because every battle is different. Every enemy is different. If you only know one way to fight, you lose when you face something unexpected. Humans survived by adapting to everything. Heat, cold, predators, disease each other. We teach you to think, not just follow orders. But isn't that dangerous? What if soldiers refuse orders? Good officers don't give orders that need to be refused. They lead soldiers who understand the mission and can adapt when plans fail. That's how humans fight. That's how we won. The training continued. Soldiers from species that had never fought together learned to work as teams. They learned human tactics, human determination, and most importantly, human stubbornness. The galaxy was learning what it meant to fight beside humans rather than against them. Back on Earth, Captain Daewon Kim sat in a quiet garden in Seoul. He had been given leave after 6 months of continuous combat operations. His hands still shook sometimes, remembering the battles, the kills, the faces. A message came through his communicator. It was from a Vektari. From Krell himself, still in custody but allowed limited communication. Captain Kim, I wanted to tell you I have seen the records from Sanctuary Prime, seen the school your daughter attended. I gave that order without thinking about the individuals. The children, I offer no excuse. I am guilty. I deserve punishment. But I wanted you to know I understand now what I did. The Vektari High Command has sent a formal apology to humanity. It changes nothing, but you deserve to know that we learned. That we will never forget what we did. Daewon read the message 3 times. Part of him wanted to reject it, to hold on to his anger. But another part, the part that was tired of killing, recognized genuine remorse. He typed a simple response. The galaxy is changing. Perhaps you can change too. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, maybe never. But it was acknowledgement that even enemies could learn. Across the galaxy, the old powers were adjusting to the new reality. The Vektari were rebuilding under human supervision. The Throne Collective was releasing subjugated species. The Omarine were sharing technology instead of hoarding it. And dozens of minor species were finding their voices for the first time in millennia. Iwu stood in her office, looking at a hologram of the galaxy. So many species. So many worlds. All of them waiting to see what humanity would do with its new power. Her assistant entered. Ambassador, the Throne Collective has agreed to sign the Sanctuary Accords. All major powers have now accepted the new framework. Wu nodded slowly. Good, now comes the hard part. Making it all work. Proving we're different from the empires that came before. Do you think we can? We have to. We didn't fight a war just to become what we defeated. We fought to make sure Sanctuary Prime never happens again. To anyone, anywhere. The galaxy was changing. The age of predation was ending. A new age was beginning. And humanity, the species that arrived late to the stars, was leading the way 1 year after Sanctuary Prime burned. The galaxy gathered for a memorial service on the rebuilt colony. Representatives from 47 species stood in the central plaza where a school once stood. Now, a monument rose there, listing the names of all who died. Chancellor Yoonji Song, Earth's Prime Minister, stood before the assembled crowd. She had taken office 6 months ago with a mandate to guide humanity through its new role. The young woman had been a history professor before entering politics, and she understood the weight of the moment. We gather here not to celebrate victory. Yoonji began, her voice carrying across the plaza. We gather to remember loss, to honor the dead, and to promise them that their deaths meant something. The crowd was silent. Among them stood War Master Krell, no longer in chains but wearing the simple clothes of a prisoner granted parole. He stood with other Vektari who had requested to attend. Many in the crowd stared at them with anger, but Yoonji had insisted they be allowed to come. 1 year ago, this place was attacked by those who thought strength meant domination, who believed the powerful could do as they wish to the weak. They were wrong. But we too learned a lesson. That strength without purpose is just another form of tyranny. Counselor Jiwoo Park stood beside her, now holding a permanent seat on the reformed Galactic Council. The council had been restructured with humanity's insistence. No longer were the ancient powers given automatic authority. Every species had a voice. Every species had a vote. Krell stepped forward when invited. Many humans tensed, hands moving toward weapons that weren't there. But Yunji had promised him this moment. "I am War Master Krell," he said, his voice rough with emotion that Vectari rarely showed. "I gave the order to attack this place. I killed your children. I laughed at your grief. I believe might justified any action." He paused, looking at the names carved into the monument. "I was wrong? The humans taught me what I should have learned millennia ago. That true strength protects rather than oppresses. I cannot undo what I did. I can only promise that my people will never forget. We will teach our children about this place, about what happens when power forgets mercy." Some humans turned away, unable to look at him. Others nodded slowly. Healing would take time, maybe forever. But it was starting. Admiral Yun Kong stood with other military leaders from dozens of species. The Sanctuary Defense Force was now operational with 200 ships from 17 different civilizations. They had already stopped 3 attempts by warlords to prey on defenseless colonies. A young officer from the Melaria approached him nervously. "Admiral, may I ask a question?" "Of course. Why do humans seem so driven? Other species are content with their place in the galaxy, but humans always push for more, for better." Yun smiled slightly. "Because we remember what it was like to be helpless, to watch others suffer and be unable to stop it. We decided never to be helpless again. And once you make that decision, you can never stop improving. Because there's always someone who needs protecting." The Milleria considered this. "Is that why you built the hammer? The planet-killing weapon? For protection?" "We built the hammer so nobody would ever dare attack us or our allies again. Deterrence through overwhelming capability. But we hope to never use it. Hope is important to humans." In another part of the colony, Dr. Hana Lee gave a demonstration to a group of young scientists from various species. She showed them human medical technology, including the nanobots that could cure diseases the galaxy thought incurable. A Valorian student asked, "Dr. Lee, will you share this technology freely? Most species charge enormous fees for advanced medicine. We'll share it with anyone who signs the Medical Access Treaty. It guarantees the technology goes to healing, not weapons development. We learned the hard way that technology without ethics leads to horror." She pulled up images from Earth's history. Wars fought with chemical weapons. Nuclear disasters. Environmental collapse. Humans nearly destroyed ourselves with our own cleverness. We won't let that happen to the galaxy. So yes, we share freely. But with conditions that protect everyone. Captain Daewon Kim walked through the memorial with his team. They had been given the honor of laying the final wreath at the monument. Lieutenant Kyung Min walked beside him. "Have you thought about what comes next, sir?" Kyung Min asked. "The war is over. Do we go back to exploration? Some of us will. Others will train the new defense force. Some will settle down, try to forget." Daewon touched the monument gently. "I'm staying in service. Someone needs to make sure this never happens again." "Do you think it won't? That we've really changed things?" "I think we showed the galaxy that bullies get their teeth kicked in. That will last for a generation, maybe 2. Then some species will forget. They'll think they can get away with it, and we'll have to remind them again. That's the price of peace. Constant vigilance." Kyung Min nodded. "Then I'm staying too." Across the galaxy, the changes continued to ripple outward. The Throne Collective had released 47 species from mental slavery. Most were still learning how to govern themselves after centuries of control. Human advisors helped, teaching democracy and self-determination. The Ulmarine had opened their technology archives to all species. Young civilizations were advancing rapidly, no longer held back by artificial limitations. 3 new species had achieved faster-than-light travel in the past 6 months alone. Specialist Onsu Han now taught at the Galactic Military Academy, a new institution humanity had established. Officers from across the galaxy learned human tactics, strategy, and most importantly, ethics. He stood before a class of mixed-species cadets. Today we study the Battle of Fortress Kala. Can anyone tell me why it succeeded? A Vectari cadet raised his hand. Surprise, sir? The humans attacked when we didn't expect it. Partly. But the Vectari were always alert for attacks. What made this different? A Chitri cadet clicked thoughtfully. The ghost drive technology. They couldn't see you coming. Good, but technology alone doesn't win wars. What else? A human cadet from Earth spoke up. Determination, sir. The fleet knew why they were fighting. For Sanctuary Prime, for justice. They weren't going to stop until they won. Insu nodded. Exactly, technology helps. Strategy helps. But in the end, battles are won by soldiers who believe in what they're fighting for. Remember that. Because someday you might be those soldiers. Engineer Bura Shin had moved from weapons development to civilian infrastructure. She stood in a shipyard above Mars, watching construction of the first multi-species colony ship. It would carry 10,000 settlers from 8 different civilizations to a new world. They would build together. Her assistant reviewed the ship specifications with wonder. Ma'am, this ship has technology from humans, Ulmarine, Melaria, and others. It's a collaborative effort. That's the point. The old galaxy was about competition and domination. The new galaxy is about cooperation and growth. This ship is a symbol of that. Do you miss weapons development? You were so good at it. The Aura looked at the colony ship taking shape. I was good at destroying things. I'm trying to be good at building things now. It's harder, but more satisfying. At the Galactic Council chambers, a historic session was taking place. The Council was voting on the final provisions of the Sanctuary Accords. Every species would have protection. Every species would have representation. Exploitation and predation would be treated as crimes against civilization. Ambassador Jiwu watched as species after species voted yes. Even the Vectari delegation, now led by younger, more progressive leaders, voted in favor. The Throne Collective voted yes. The Ulmarine voted yes. The final tally was unanimous. The galaxy had chosen a new path. Ji Wu stood to address the council. Today we prove that civilization can evolve. That the strong can protect rather than exploit. That justice can exist among the stars. But this is just the beginning. Now comes the work of making these ideals real. Of building the galaxy we promised. She looked around at the assembled species. Humanity didn't ask to lead this change. We were forced into it by tragedy. But now that we're here, we promise to lead with wisdom, not just strength. To listen, not just command. To build, not just defend. The council erupted in applause from dozens of species. The old order was truly dead. The new one was being born. On Earth, young people gathered in Seoul's Central Plaza to watch the council vote broadcast. When the results came through, they cheered. They had grown up hearing stories of Sanctuary Prime. Now they were seeing justice. Realized among them stood the children of those who had fought. The children of Admiral Yoon, of Dr. Hannah, of Captain Day One. They didn't know if they would follow in their parents' footsteps. But they knew they lived in a galaxy their parents had made safer. Chancellor Yoonji returned to Earth after the memorial. She stood in her office, looking at a photograph of Sanctuary Prime before the attack. Happy children playing in parks? Families walking together. Simple peace. Her advisor entered. Ma'am, the Valorian Federation has requested human assistance in establishing their first democratic government. That's the 12th such request this month. Approve it. Send our best people. Some members of Parliament are concerned we're overextending, that we're trying to fix every problem in the galaxy. Unji turned to face her advisor. We're not trying to fix every problem. We're trying to make sure what happened at Sanctuary Prime never happens again. If that means helping species learn to govern themselves fairly, we'll do it. If that means maintaining a fleet that can respond to threats, we'll do it. If that means sharing technology and knowledge, we'll do it. And if another species threatens us, if someone else tries what the Vectari did, then they'll learn the same lesson. That humanity can be your greatest friend or your worst enemy. The choice is theirs. Years later, historians would study this period. They would call it the Great Turning, when galactic civilization transformed from predation to cooperation. They would debate whether humanity changed the galaxy or whether the galaxy was ready to change, and needed only a catalyst, but those who lived through it knew the truth. The galaxy changed because one species refused to accept injustice, because humans looked at cruelty and said no, because when pushed to the edge, humanity didn't fall. They fought back,